Tinubu administration will train Lagos area boys as tax officers and paid decent salaries. Committee Chair Oyedele speaks. Welcome to the news and thank you for tuning in to listen. Please subscribe to our channel to get notified when we post for JSON news update. Please click on the notification bell. In this interview on Wednesday edition of Channel Television Sunrise Daily, the chairman of Presidential Tax and Fiscal Policy Reform, Taiwo Oyedele, says area boys can be trained for tax collection and paid decent salaries to forsake their old ways. He also speaks on efforts made to reduce multiple taxes he described as a nuisance at the state and local government levels. They asked, Nigerians have been wondering when is this thing going to take off? I mean, by now prices should be reduced simply because the tax reform committee, is expected to have come up with some of those recommendations. Let us begin. How far so far? He replied, thank you for having me. So you're right, I also join Nigerians to say that I'm impatient to see the results coming up, and more importantly, the impact on the people, particularly the small businesses and the poorest people who are most impacted by the reforms and the different policy. Unfortunately, fiscal policy matters are not as quick. So if you make a monetary policy decision today, you can see the impact tomorrow. Sometimes, physical takes a little longer, but even on that, I feel like we could have made progress faster. We submitted our first report in October with so many recommendations, over 20 recommendations. As of today, maybe about 3 of them have been fully implemented. The remaining ones are in different stages of implementation. The biggest instrument to implement our recommendation is the Emergency Economic Intervention Bill that we came up with, trying to amend about 15 different laws and implement some very important changes that will help with price stability in terms of inflation. This will help also in terms of cost, that will help in terms of providing relief to the right people who are most impacted. That will help to take the burden of small businesses, and that would also in a large part help with foreign exchange as well. I know that the purview of the central bank, as well. Okay, and that would also in a large part help with foreign exchange as well. I know that's the purview of the central bank, but we also think it is an area where we can work together between the monitoring of the fiscal authorities and also even align with trade policies. So these are different stages. Files. President of Presidential Committee on Tax Policy and Fiscal Reform, Taiwo Oyedele. In fairness to the lawmakers, we haven't presented the bills to them, and that was also because once they had the budget for 2024, it became their priority. And we are aware that they are working around the clock just to get the budget out of the way. But now that that is out of the way, we want to try and prioritize this and send the bill to them for them to also pass it as a matter of urgency, so the Nigerian people can begin to feel the positive impact sooner rather than later. They asked, so is there a timeline to this? He replied, it is difficult to put a timeline to it. I cannot tell you what the steps are, so the internal processes of getting all the key stakeholders happy with the contents is where we are now. The next phase would be for that to be presented to the Federal Executive Council. So it depends on what the next meeting will be and then getting it to be on the agenda. And then once that has been done, then it is sent to the National Assembly. So at the National Assembly also, we have no control over that. But in our engagement with them, they recognize that this is an emergency issue and therefore they would also prioritize it. So we expect that we should get that out of the National Assembly within 1 or 2 weeks, given that we have done extension consultation anyway. So this is something where once the National Assembly members are happy, you do a public hearing. You pass it because it is coming from the executive. We do not see a problem with them signing it. If I must give you the indication at all, it is to say that by the end of the first quarter, so latest by March, we should see these things come out, finger crossed. So we are looking at it, but that is the execution, not the impact. They said. He replied, yes, you are right. That is the execution, which is the biggest part of it. What we have been trying to do is work on the implementation mechanism to transmit the policy into real impact. We are already working on that. We are not waiting for the instrument to be out. Some of it will be, for example, asking state and local government to suspend nuisance taxes that just create problems with very little avenue to show for it. We're already meeting with the governors. In some cases, we'll set up small committee to discuss with their team. So we're already working on that. Once the thing is signed, there is no excuse, just implement like the next day. If it's like you saw my list, it is number one on my list because this is where the places this is where these are the places where the impact will be felt. And I always say from time to time, the federal government has citizens, states have indigents, and they are two completely different classes of people in an environment. It is one thing to talk about states that have governors, it is altogether to talk about local government, administrators that have more or less to take in, though unconstitutionally from state government to do whatever they need to do. We had a conversation on Saturday, and one individual came in with a list of about 60 tests for a private car. I am not surprised. I am not. We have seen 73 stickers on just one trip to transport goods from the north to the south. This thing is annoying, to be honest. Right? Like you wonder, how did we get here in the first place in the country where there is a rule of law and you have a government? It should not have happened in the first place. In our intelligence engagement with stakeholders, maybe, okay, may not be, right from the point of view, what we have been advised is that is you get the governors to say yes to solve more than 90% of a problem. So ideally to those things, you want even local government to suspend. So you are discussing with the governors first and demonstrating to them why this is good for local government, good for them, and good for us as a people. Once the government agree, then we are not going to ignore the local government right, but what we advise is if you start with the local government and they say yes, and the governor says no, you're going nowhere. We are not taking up top-down approach, but we engage with everyone, including during the conference of speakers. At the forums of finance commissioners, we are engaging with everyone. It is more like the strategy of who are the biggest stakeholders to make this happen quickly. Some believe that most of the levy duties or whatever you want to call it that are charged by these takers and all, most monies do not get to even the state government themselves. What are the benefits of a state government? Okay, what are the benefits of a state government that comes to them should these interventions that you're marketing to them, so to speak? Yeah, you're right. I think the starting point can say what are they getting now, what benefits are they getting now, and what chaos are they creating now, or maybe you call it disadvantages. So at the moment, according to the Bureau of Statistics for 2022, all the local governments in Nigeria that sent reports to them did not even collect 50 billion naira in a whole year. They did not collect up to 50 billion. Alright, on this note, you have come to the end of the news. We say thank you for tuning in to listen. Until I come your way next time, enjoy the rest of your day.